Good evening, Commanders, and welcome to Algorab AM. I am your host, Commander I Flip with a Switch, and the stars are beautiful. Things are looking mighty fine here in the studio, down in the, let's be honest, humble abodes of Forbes Terminal, and, well, things are looking pretty good. This is the official talk radio show of Sidewinder Syndicate. If you are not familiar, Sidewinder Syndicate is a squadron here in the Elite Dangerous universe where you can not only be part of a kick-ass community, but you can also have fun while doing it. If you have more questions, want some information about Sidewinder Syndicate, you can look us up over on INARA, your one-stop shop for all of your Elite Dangerous news, wants, and needs. And come on over and join Sidewinder Syndicate. Things are pretty good over there. But as this is our inaugural episode of Algorab AM, we're going to talk about the structure, and then we're going to go into the show proper. So here's how it goes. It's going to be broken down into three parts. Right now, we are at Takeoff. That's where we are going to be loading you up, getting you ready, making sure the cargo's strapped down before we head off into the amazing episode that is Episode 1 and Episode 2, and so on into infinity. But regardless, this is where you're going to get your feet wet and things are going to get a little warm and fuzzy before we take off into the actual meat and potatoes of the show. Once we get that done, we'll go into some interviews. We'll talk shop, maybe talk about FDev, maybe talk about Elite as a whole, but mostly we're going to talk about what's going on in Sidewinder Syndicate. The reason why is because Sidewinder Syndicate does a lot of great things as a community, but also takes itself pretty seriously when it comes to things like the background simulation and things like that. And by seriously, I mean we're actually trying to, take over the galaxy. So if you want to be a part of that, again, come on down to Sidewinder Syndicate. Things are fun. The people are good. It's a good community. Once we get done with the player interview, where we're going to go through and talk to squadron members and get their take on not only the game, but the Syndicate, how long they've been playing Elite, their favorite ships, why they like flying with flight assist off for, all the reasons they're in. Then we're going to go into what's happening in our third segment. And basically that's going to be us talking about different events going on in Sidewinder Syndicate, such as the Heart and Soul expedition going on right now. The official name is the Key to the Heart Expedition 2020, where a group of intrepid Sidewinder Syndicate squadron members are heading out to the Heart and Soul Nebula on a fantastic fleet carrier laden voyage that is going to result in a lot of exploration, a whole lot of shenanigans, and a pretty good time. So if you're interested in that, again, come on down. But with that, let's head into our first segment, where we will be talking to Imnotforce, Commander Imnotforce, and getting his take on the game and things as a whole. So let's check that out. All right, and we're back. So this is the part of the show where we talk to a member of Sidewinder Syndicate that maybe some of you don't know, maybe some of you do, but we want to get to know them, and we want to know a couple little things about them, like why'd you start playing the game? Have you invested half of your life savings into ARCs? If you have, how sick does your ship look? Things like that. And today we are talking to Imnotforce. How you doing,
Hello.
Force?
Not bad, actually.
Fantastic. So I actually ran into you the first day of the expedition. You helped me plot my way to my very first black hole, which I appreciate that. That was really cool. Also, probably the hardest screenshots I have taken in that game because it really does warp space and light.
Yeah, it's a little tricky.
Yeah, but it was definitely cool. We got a really cool group photo. It's actually probably going to be on like our hip hop album whenever that drops. just four ships in front of a black hole. I don't know what the album's gonna be called yet, but it'll be pretty cool. But anyway, so yeah. I just wanted to get to know you a little bit as far as your history with the game and with Sidewinder and things like that. So let's start out with how long have you actually been playing Elite Dangerous?
Well, I bought the game I think a couple months ago. I have only 20 hours recorded in game though, so
Wow.
still pretty new to the game.
Yeah, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody started out in this game at some point. I
Well, yeah.
myself have only been playing for probably a little over 2 months at this point, and I can tell you that if it wasn't for quarantine and it wasn't for the fact that I just happened to stumble across it in a Steam sale, I probably wouldn't have even given this game the time of day, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what, $15, all right. And then I hopped in, I started playing, and I was like, oh my God, I have missed out on so much. Like, I have denied myself the coolness that is this game.
Yeah, I was introduced to the game, I think 2-ish years ago. I saw my friend playing it at his house, and I thought it looked really cool, but I didn't have a computer that could run it. So eventually, when I did upgrade, I was looking for a game because I had received a free joystick and throttle from my friend because he didn't use it anymore. I was like, okay, I kind of want to use these, but I don't have anything to use them on. And I remembered seeing it, and I saw it in the store for like the discount with the Horizons Pass. I was like, you know what, why not? And so I hopped into it, and now here I am.
Yeah, so it's funny how like you got gifted the stick and throttle and then found the game as opposed to the other way around where a lot of people get gifted the game by people that are like really passionate about it. My cousin almost bought the game for me. He had been playing this game forever, and he's like, look, if you don't buy it for $15, I'll buy it for $15 and give it to you. And I was like, okay. Yeah, but definitely, I mean, I ended up buying it with my own money, but definitely now that I've been playing it, I'm like, oh man, like I would super duper like to get a HOTAS and just fly around feeling like a super badass. But
yeah,
barring that, you know, playing with my Xbox One controller, still pretty good.
Still immersive enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally probably going to get a HOTAS at some point, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, so enough tangents. Let's get back to you. So, how did you end up hearing about Sidewinder Syndicate? Is it just like through the grapevine?
I was on the Reddit Discord for Elite Dangerous, and I was put in the looking for game. I was like, hey, I'm new to the game, looking for some people to fly around with and do some stuff. And Commander Rin actually was like, hey, you know what, we can help me find this Thagoid sensor or something. So we went and did that. And right as I was about to hop off, he was telling me like, oh yeah, there's this huge cruise that's going out in a couple of days. You should hop on with it. And he sent me the link to the website. I was like, you know what, sure, I'm new to the game. Could be cool to go out and see what's out there. So yeah, I hopped on, and here I am cruising around space farther than I think I should be.
Yeah, definitely. It is funny because when I first saw your ship and I was like, oh, he's got a Cobra, that's cool. And then you're like, yeah, this is my second ship. And I was like, oh wow, he is so new to the game and he's so far out here now. But,
yeah, it kind of feels like I went off the deep end, but the deep end is pretty forgiving.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to be said about this game where like you can just, you know, I mean, granted, the Cobra is nothing to sneeze at. It's a pretty good ship. Yeah. But that being said, it's definitely not the one that I would, you know, I personally would outfit with some stuff and be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Colonia. Like, it's definitely not that ship, but it's a lot more forgiving with a fleet carrier expedition because, you know, you can always go back to the carrier to refit and stuff like that. So that's nice. But that's a cool way that you heard about it. I heard about it through Reddit myself, and I was like, oh, this looks like a cool group of people to play with. And it's really nice, in my opinion, that Sidewinder Syndicate is so, I mean, for lack of a better word, like very welcoming. Like it's a really good group of people. And I was really surprised, like my first day being in and playing the game. And then I was talking with people. I was like, wow, everybody here is like really cool with like, you know, sharing knowledge and experience and stuff like that. Yeah. So, it's really nice that you have games with player groups like that because not every game ecosystem is that not toxic, I guess. Yeah, and for me, it's a nice resource because half the things people are talking about, like engineering, I'm like, I have no idea what is going on here. Yeah, and I haven't gotten anywhere near that. Yeah, and trust me, I don't know that much more than you do. I know like the basic stuff about engineering, and that's really it. And like whole other things, like you've actually seen and killed a Thargoid. I've never even seen a Thargoid. I have not killed one. I have seen one and I have run. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, but you've at least seen one. I never even laid eyes on a Thargoid. Like I've heard stories, and that's about it.
But regardless, though, it's still pretty neat in my opinion that like, you know, a player group can come together, and regardless of how long you've been playing the game, people can still be like, hey, let's go out and do this thing. And to you, it just seems like to you going to see a Thargoid and watching someone, you know, take it out or run away or whatever, that experience, you're like, oh, this is a novel thing that someone does in their first like 15 hours. Whereas like me, I've been playing for, like I said, like 2 months, you know, give or take the time there. And I definitely, yeah, like I'm sitting at 380 hours. I just looked at my Steam right now. 380 hours, and I've never seen a Thargoid. So, you know, it's cool that your mileage varies.
Well, I mean, I think this game is just, it's so open-ended that you can take literally any path.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely started with the most, I guess what you consider like the most boring path in the beginning, because like the thing that really appealed to me was just how satisfying the space trucking itch became for me.
Yeah, to just jump around.
Yeah, so I went and I got elite and trade like really fast, probably a lot faster than I should have. And I was like, all right, cool. And then people were like, let's do combat. And I'm like, oh God, these things have guns? No.
Oh no.
Yeah. But like I said, it's really cool that you can have that varied experience. So
yeah,
aside from Elite, like what other games do you like typically get down on as far as like, you know, if someone wanted to reach out and play something with you?
What's funny is that my history is actually in first-person shooters, and I have logged, I think, near like 3,000 hours in first-person shooters.
Wow.
But it's always fun to take time in these like extra games to just kind of enjoy not having to worry about competitiveness.
Yeah.
Like I play other games like The Division. I played Destiny for a little bit. But all of it, like I don't have as much fun playing it, but it's nice to relax. Like at the end of a day, if I've kind of outdone my competitiveness, I can just go and relax.
Yeah, there is something to be said about like the cathartic nature of this game, where you can just like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna chill out and just fly around space and scan some plants and stuff.
Yeah,
that's cool. So what? So you mentioned Destiny and
The Division.
The Division. Too. So is there anything else? Or are you on that Call of Duty train?
Yes, I do play Call of Duty. I don't play Warzone because I think it's boring. I've been playing a lot of Hyperscape recently, which is the new Ubisoft Battle Royale. Most of my hours go into Counter-Strike, though. I play CSGO.
Oh man, that's a game that back in 1.6, I could definitely tell you that I played way more Counter-Strike than I probably should have. Now with CSGO, I have come to realize that I've been aged out of that game very hard. Yeah. I don't have the reflexes nor the want or desire to get good at that game.
Yeah.
But the people that I see play it that are good at it, I like there's
it's inhumane. It's like, what?
I mean, no, like there are literally times like I like watching esports, and there have definitely been times where like whether it's competitive fighting games like in the FGC or, you know, competitive CSGO, where I will literally like sit there and just like, that is amazing. Like I've caught myself clapping at my computer being like, what in the actual hell was that headshot? I don't understand. Like, but
how you hit that,
yeah, but you know, people can, and they're really good. So I always tip my hat to people that like to play competitively at that level.
Yeah,
especially in first-person shooters. Like I like to consider, you know, fighting games to be a fairly technical aspect of competitive gaming. But man, like you're talking about like physics, and especially in a game like Counter-Strike, where like trajectory is a thing. Yeah. So good on you for that.
Yeah, I clocked, I think I just hit the 500 hour mark on CS.
Wow, nice.
I'd originally invested a good 1,500 hours into Warface, which is a free-to-play, pay-to-win game. But I kind of fell out of favor with that one and picked up CS instead. Yeah,
it's always appeared to me that for some reason Counter-Strike ends up being the one everybody goes back to when they're like, okay, cool, I want to play this competitive shooter. And then, you know, they'll try, you know, Crucible and Destiny, or they'll play Overwatch. They'll play, you know, I've actually heard really good things about Hyperscape. I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out. You know, they'll try different games, but at some point everyone's like, yeah, I'm probably just going to go back and play.
Everyone just comes back. It's the simplest game. And
it is.
It really just cuts everything down to skill.
Yeah,
And
that's what it
game
really
knowledge.
comes down to. All right. Well, aside from that, how on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you, we're only 1 day in, of course. We're currently at day 2 of the expedition, but how do you feel thus far about the expedition? Like as far as like the plan and the people and stuff like that.
I think it's all really well planned out. I think it's really cool that just an unfunded group of people was like, you know what, let's just get together and take some people out into space and just have a good time. And I think the people are great as well. I mean, if you can hop into a Discord call of like 12 people in one channel and still have a good time, it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, that's definitely something else that has surprised me about Sidewinder is like I've gone into the chat channels where people are just yammering away and everyone's just, it's all just people throwing memes at each other and just talking crap while they're, playing SRV tag and crap like that. But I'm like, all right, like this is pretty chill. I can dig this for sure. All right, good stuff. I mean, I'm personally having a really good time. I've gotten a lot more, I don't know, like being able to see the black hole, that was really cool. And then also getting to kind of like test out different things as far as like my exploration builds and my combat build that I brought and stuff like that. That's all been like very valuable. So I've definitely been having a good time as well. And I'm glad to hear that you're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, starting out with just a Cobra and a DBX is, it's a start. And I think it's fun that Rin showed me how to kit out my Explorer so that I can jump 30 light years at a time in comparison to like the 13 I have on my Cobra.
Yeah.
So I have my Explorer and I have my hybrid mining fighter. Because I looked up a tutorial on YouTube like how to get a fast and secure start in Elite, and it was like 3 videos that were all an hour long each, and I just watched through all of them and just kind of step by step my way through it.
Nice. Yeah, I did something very similar when it came to trade. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and get this Type 9 and kit it out, and we're gonna start going.
Yeah.
So talking about your ships, that leads me to my final question, which is, so what was your actual first ship after your Sidewinder? Obviously, everybody starts with a Sidewinder, and then what is your target ship? Like, what is your unicorn, and how are you going to kit it out when you finally, if you have infinite credits, Bob's your uncle, you can have whatever you want. What is like your golden arc ship that you're aiming for?
So my first ship was actually the Cobra Mark III that I'm still running around with, because that was the one that I think he got it in the tutorial, and I kitted it with a couple of, I originally had a full weaponry on it. I had missiles and lasers and a couple guns, because I was just doing bounty hunting for a while to get my combat up.
Nice.
And then I switched out for 2 mining lasers because I found that 4 just drained the power too fast. And it didn't make a difference. As for my target ship, I don't know. I haven't poked around that much. The Anacondas look cool. A lot of those bigger combat vessels are kind of what I'm looking at with the fighters. And as for outfitting, I have no idea what could possibly go in because I haven't poked around with. The only thing I know is that you can buy things from the shop, and then there's engineering, which does something.
So engineering is definitely a deeper meta layer when it comes to how you're outfitting stuff. But as far as, the larger ships, definitely appealing. I have an Anaconda myself, and I can tell you that as large as that ship is, it handles remarkably well.
Yeah.
I still don't personally count it as my target ship. It's not my, air quotes here, unicorn. But it's still a fun ship to have, and it's a good utility ship. It's good for just about everything.
Yeah.
But I ended up telling myself at one point, I was like, you know what? I want to create Mark II. That's the one I'm going to get. And so I got that, and it's worked out thus far.
Yeah, I haven't poked around the ships too much, so I do need to be looking into that. All I know is that to get kits, it's way too much money. It's body kits and
I'm actually really ashamed of the fact that like I want body kits and spoilers more than almost anything else I could buy with arcs. Like people are like, oh man, I can color my lasers and I can, color the exhaust for my jets and stuff. And I'm like, no, I just want that sick spoiler on the back of my
which you
freaking
can't
Mark
even see.
II. Yeah, but it's the thought that counts. I mean, the same thing can be said with paint jobs, though. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, man, look at this sick paint job. It's like, you're in the cockpit. What do you care?
Yeah.
But it's still, I don't know. I mean, the same thing can be said for, like, I mean, hell, hats in freaking Team Fortress 2 or, you know, the cosmetic, different knives and stuff in CSGO. So,
yeah.
I mean, the guy that you're using that knife on is not going to see it until, like, the very last second. And then he's going to be like, oh, man, sick blade.
Yeah.
All right, so oh no, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say that like in some games, it's at least for me, cosmetics have always been about how I see it. It's less about how they see it.
Yeah.
So that's why I've always been attracted to getting the customization.
For sure, and that's why like I'm over here wanting to get spoilers and stuff like that, even though I know it's pointless. But it's like, man, but it's gonna look so sick when I do.
Yeah.
Every time I go into a station, I'll be like, oh man, look at my super cool ship.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't want to keep you here too long, and I do appreciate your time. What I do want to do though now is open the floor to you so you can plug anything you got going on. You did mention to me yesterday you have a YouTube channel. So
yes, I do.
Give you a chance to shout that out. And then also, throw some shout outs to any commanders out there that you want to you want to say thank you to or what's up or anything like that. But yeah, man, the floor is yours.
All right, yeah, so I do have a YouTube. It's the same as my commander name, Imnotforce. The name came from there being too many channels named Force, so I had to go with something unique that people could find if they were told about it and they wouldn't have to poke through a ton of them. I also do produce music. I'm on all platforms. Infinite Edge is my tag. Just infinite space edge, capital I, capital E. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I would like to thank Rin, who introduced me to Syndicate and brought me onto the cruise just a couple days before it was starting. But other than that, yeah, that's about all I got.
All right, cool, man. Well, again, thank you for your time. I look forward to winging up with you in the game and throughout the expedition and further on into the future. But yeah, with that, we are going to head on out. Thanks for coming out, Iron Force.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and welcome back to our third and final segment where we are going to be going into a little bit of what is going on inside of Sidewinder Syndicate. For that, I have with me my good friend and the esteemed captain of the voyage, Commander RearAdmiralPants, and he is currently in charge of the facilitators therein, and I guess the big brain behind the 2020 I forget the name. Oh yeah, the Key to the Heart and Soul Nebula expedition that Sidewinder Syndicate is currently on. So, hello, Admiral Pants, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, first off, let's get a little bit of background here. How long have you been playing Elite?
So, I've heard of Elite for years now, but I just picked it up in early February of this year after I learned that my brother-in-law was playing it pretty much on an addicted basis. And we're always looking for ways to kind of game together since he lives in Oklahoma and we're both big video game nerds. So yeah, I've only been playing for, I guess that makes it 6 months. So I'm fairly new.
Okay. And how did you end up hearing about Sidewinder Syndicate? What brought you into the fold?
So yeah, most MMOs, the whole notion of like guilds and squads really turns me off, especially if they're basically required to access like endgame content. Mm-hmm. Like that's basically the reason that I've really stayed away from MMOs like for the past, 5 or 6 years. But I found a Reddit post, I would say maybe a month before you guys did the Rosette Nebula expedition. And it was just like it was a simple post just saying, like, we're a laid back guild. We go back a long time. We don't care what your play style is as long as you're respectful. Join us, see how it feels. And I was like, okay, this sounds, down to earth. This sounds like, not intense people that need me online 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. Like, this isn't a second job. I might be able to handle this. So I applied, and everybody was incredibly welcoming and incredibly friendly. It was a very positive experience, and I immediately started looking for ways where I could contribute because I felt that they had done a lot for me. And so when I got my fleet carrier, I immediately just started thinking of like ways I could enhance the squad's I don't know, enjoyment of the game. So I just started thinking about ideas, and I guess this is the first result of that process.
Cool. And that's a great reason, as far as that wanting to give back to the squad, to the community that you're a part of and stuff like that. I think it's a really big indicator of the quality of a group of people, especially in a game like this.
I totally agree. And it seems like there's a lot of people in the squad that operate in that fashion.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned, like, after a while I was like, like, how can I contribute and stuff like that? And to be perfectly honest, that's why I wanted to start the podcast. That's why we're doing Algorab AM, because I was sitting there and I was like, well, I only have a handful of useful skills, and one of them is talking and the other one is be able to push a button to record me talking. So I was like, all right, cool, I can do that. And when they signed off on it, I was like, sweet, I can help out, because I don't have the 5 bajillion credits that's required to get a fleet carrier. So I was like, well, but I got this here microphone, so I guess I'll do that. But so
yeah, this is a great idea. I'm excited to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell for sure. I mean, of course, and I don't want this interview to be, like all about me and stuff like that, but I'm hoping this can not only be entertaining but be a resource for players as well. So hopefully, if it can meet those goals, then I'll be happy with the end result. Which,
for sure,
So it's all we're really trying to get at the end of the day before we lay our heads down and be like, did I do good? Okay, I did. And then I can go to sleep, with a clear conscience and stuff. So as far as the actual planning and stuff like that, how long was the planning process in play? So you say that you've been with Sidewinder for right before the Rosetta expedition?
Yeah, about a month before that. And I kind of forget when that was, because I was actually in the hospital during that expedition. So it's kind of been a crazy time for me, but I know do you happen to recall when the Rosetta expedition was? I mean, it's been a few months.
Yeah, I've actually only been with Sidewinder for about a month, actually.
Okay.
Like I've only actually been playing the game for 2 months. So your chronology actually goes back further than mine.
Understood. So I suspect I joined, probably in the early May, late April region.
Okay. But so as far as like the planning and stuff like that, like once you had the spark of the idea to do this expedition, like how do you go like as far as like the planning portion of it? Because it's really easy on paper to be like, all right, cool, we have a fleet carrier, we have people that want to go places, we'll just go places. But you're also, it's like herding cats, you know what I mean? Like you have all these players that they're doing different things, not just in the game but in real life. And then you're also having to like, you want to plan a trip that's interesting, but you also don't want to break the bank on trying to get 10,000 million tons of what is now essentially the rarest resource in the entire game. So like it's essentially like trying to go on like a cross country trip if you were doing it in like the Mad Max universe, where you're like, all right, we got this much gas to go this far. We're going to go see the green place and come back. And then hopefully the green place is actually there.
Yeah. I knew going in it would be a tenuous balancing act, and I knew it would be more work than I predicted. I have a 25-year career in information technology, so I know that these kinds of projects snowball very, very quickly, and there's just no way to predict the amount of involvement that you'll end up contributing by the time rubber meets the road. So I started planning this, I would say, about 4 to 5 weeks before we launched, and that time frame was actually a little bit short. Like I would have preferred to launch later, but due to some other guild events and the fact that we were getting later in the year and the summer's ending and people's schedules start to ramp up in the fall, I made the decision, to get it out of the way before September. So that's why I kind of made that, I took that risk. There were a number of reasons I wanted to put this together. So one of the two things you said, the assumptions that you thought I made, that people wanted to go someplace and explore, I wasn't certain about that. I didn't know how people felt about just exploration. And as it turns out, with the people that we've started involving in the expedition, actually just over the past 2 weeks, we're doing a lot more than just exploration. But I wasn't certain if people would find an exploration-focused expedition just really boring, or if there would be a lot of enthusiasm, or someplace in between. And what I also wanted to do was kind of use this as a litmus test to figure out whether we could pull off a longer expedition involving refueling in the black, maybe out to Sag A Star, maybe, someplace further. So those were kind of the things in my mind as I put this together.
So kind of a combination of, let's see what the reaction is going to be from the squad, but also let's test out our capability to potentially go further in the future, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
And yeah.
And that totally makes sense, man. Especially, I could definitely see it being daunting on your end, because you're like, okay, I don't know. Like, this is my first time trying to take a virtual summer camp to the edge of the gal. That's how I heard someone describe it today in voice chat, and I thought it was really funny. He was like, because they're running around on a planet, blasting at each other in SRVs and ship launch fighters, and they're having a blast doing it. And one of the guys in the voice chat was just like, yo, is this like summer camp in space? Is that what we signed up for? And everyone just started laughing. And he was like, no, I'm being serious. He's like, we're just out here dicking around, having a good time. But yeah. He's like, yeah, it's just a trip out to the middle of nowhere. He was like, yeah, it's basically like space summer camp. And that actually made the most sense to me. I was like, oh crap, yeah, I guess it really is. So congratulations, you've unlocked the achievement, space summer camp. Good job.
They should make that a badge on EDSM. Yeah, I'm thrilled at the enthusiasm and just the general attitude of pretty much everybody I've interacted with since we launched last night from Algorab. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and we've barely begun. We've got a ton of stuff planned. In terms of head count, we're kind of right where I'm still not sure if a longer expedition is going to be possible. That requires some pretty intense mining in the middle of it. But I'm very pleased that we got as high as we did. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be a great time, and for a first effort, I think we really knocked it out of the park. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but
no, man, toot away. I mean, look, you were one dude. I mean, granted, you enlisted some help with coordination and stuff later on, which any sane person would. But yeah, man, you should be proud of yourself. Like I said, you pulled off space summer camp. That's not a small achievement. Like, it's one thing in real life when you can throw a bunch of people onto a bus, go to a location, put down,
kind of hand them off to like a guide or whatever. And,
yeah, but like when you're literally dealing with people in one, I mean, it's in a game. Two, exercising the best control you can within the limitations of that game, understanding the limitations of freedom inside that game. Like, some people have only come out here with ships that have like a 13 light year jump range. If they get stuck, they're stuck. You know what I mean? Like, if something happens and they can't jump away to a bunch of fuel stars to get back, they're hosed. So like, I mean, there's a lot of different things involved here. So like, this is definitely a little more in the coordination side than just being like, all right, everybody show up at the rookery at, X time, and then we're going to take off, and then we'll stop at a place, and then we're going to take off again. Like, there's a lot going on there. So yeah, man, you should be proud.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, and I appreciate that, and I am. But I do want to take advantage of what you mentioned, and definitely acknowledge two people. One, my second in command, Commander Ashoka. I asked him to kind of sign on because I knew that the week preceding launch would be insane for me in real life. And I just asked him to kind of be me during that week. And he did a fantastic job. He actually brought on a guide and a navigator that had been to this region in the past. And he turned an expedition that basically had 2 destinations, and he created an entire itinerary with like 14 stops, each of which is interesting in its own right. Like today, we arrived at a nebula, which is neither the Heart nor the Soul Nebula, which were our original destinations. We're going to be going to a star-birthing region. We're going to be going to some lore-related Raxa question mark type stuff. We're going to be, it's all over the place. And he managed to do it all within the fuel requirements and the range that I had set out as maximum. So, I mean, those guys, Ashoka and this gentleman, he says, just call me the Richard guy. He has a really long commander name. It starts with Richard.
Yeah.
But they've been fantastic helps. And I couldn't have done this looking back without what they've contributed.
Right on. Well, with that, is there anything else you want to say in regards to the Syndicate, to the game in general, to the expedition, anything like that before we sign off? You got anything you want to plug?
No, other than the Syndicate itself. I mean, if you're on the fence about joining, definitely join us. It's a friendly, laid back time. You can talk not at all. You can talk a lot. You can help. You can not help. Do your own thing. And I just want to thank everybody for their support, and I guess look forward to when we do this again. Maybe before the end of the year, maybe early next year. And that's it. And thank you for having me on. I'm very thrilled. I could talk probably another 3 hours about my feelings on FDev and Elite in general. But I won't do that. But thank you, and best wishes for your podcast. I really hope it takes off, and I think it's a fantastic idea.
Well, thank you very much. And as much as you're thanking me, I appreciate you coming on as my very first guest, which is funny because when I was initially pitching the idea of this thing, I was like, man, I have the structure figured out and but like, who am I going to have on? And then you announced the expedition, and I was like, all right, cool. There's the kickoff. Like, that's what we're going to use. So in a way, it was a nice little symbiotic relationship as far as the launch of 2 different ventures are concerned. But for sure, I will. Actually, so you also have a website for the expedition as well, correct?
I do. Yes, it's elite.thisfirstworld, all one word, .com. That's it.
All right, cool. I'll make sure to get that information from you, and I'll put it in down below in the show notes. But all right, that is going to be it. Admiral Pants, I appreciate you coming on and talking about the expedition. Don't worry, when it comes to future episodes and talking about FDev and the state of the game as a whole, I will definitely be looking to you as a potential guest for that, because I also have my feelings about it and stuff like that. Some good, some bad, but it's definitely something we could probably talk about at length.
Yeah, I suspect there's quite a few people with quite a few views. It might be an interesting roundtable, actually. I don't want to tell you
Ooh.
how to run your show, but
Actually, that's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about that offline. But for now, though, I think this is as good a place as any to finish off this segment. And so when we get back, we will roll into the end of the episode, and yeah, that is going to be it. So again, thank you, Admiral Pants, for coming on, and we will be right back.
And with that, we come to a close. Now we're heading back to the landing pad where we're going to be closing out the show. And this now marks the end of our inaugural episode. Episode 1 of Algorab AM, coming to you live from Forbes Terminal, is now back on the pad. And I want to thank my guest, Imnotforce, and RearAdmiralPants for coming on and, you know, just giving us a little glimpse, not just into themselves, but also into the game and what they like about the group, and just, you know, all the fun that we're having out here. The whole reason why this show came into being was because after I, myself, had joined Sidewinder Syndicate, I thought to myself, this is a really cool group. And the things that they have going on and the different community aspects that they have in play really made me want to put a spotlight on this group, not only to show how good it is, but also so we can get more people into it. And that's what we're trying to do. So again, if you're interested at all, come on over to INARA, look up Sidewinder Syndicate, and apply. We have an awesome Discord. People are always in there having fun, talking, sharing information, helping each other out. It's a good time, and you should definitely come on out for it. So with that, we're going to bring this one to a close. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in 2 weeks for the next exciting episode of Algorab AM. Have a good one, and 07, Commanders.